Hello. Hi. So, Sakaya, um, I am here to talk about your vision and trusting your vision, specifically your inner vision. And this conversation came to me today as I was driving to an appointment, and I asked my team in spirit to take good notes and write everything down, because as soon as I arrived at my destination, I was going to have to get set up and then just be focused on another person. So I share all of that to say that this conversation was really great and made a lot of sense when I was driving this morning. A lot of that smoothness is gone. So I'm going to do my best to communicate what I'm wanting to share, and then you guys just put the pieces together. So I also do this again, I'm using myself as an example for any of you out there who are looking for ways to get your message out, your art out, your creativity out. What I'm wanting people to understand is, first of all, there's no perfection, really. And secondly, you do not have to be perfect to create meaningful things for people, whether it's a message or a physical, tangible thing or an experience or whatever. So I'm gonna do this the best way I can. Although it was a really good conversation. It was really good. So trusting your inner vision. And I'm going to start by telling you the story of my vision. And once again, guys, for those of you who are new to me, I focus on the conversation. I'm not super skillful at saying hi and keeping up with the chat. You are welcome to communicate with me, and I'm so glad that you're here. My mind just jumps tracks if I try to keep up with everything. So thank you so much for joining. And so vision, but I'm going to start with my vision because this is how this thought came to me. And I'm going to tell you a little story about my vision, and then I'm going to tell you just a little bit of a dream that I had and how it all ties to, we've always had a need to trust in the visions that we receive personally or that we experience personally. But whatever it is that's coming for us in these next few months and years, I feel like we're really, really going to need to get very strong in trusting what we see and what we know. So these glasses are my favorite ever, and they come from Kirk and Kirk. So again, if you're just joining us, I'm talking about trusting in your inner vision. And I'm just going to start by telling the story of my vision because this is how this came to me. So Kirk and Kirk, I saw these glasses across a construction site on the road in Columbus, Ohio. And it's like there was a light shining on them, and they're made to reflect the light. So it was very appropriate. And I walked over, I interrupted my friends. We were going in one direction, and I said, no, I have to go look at these. And I fell in love, and I could not get them off my mind. And so for 2 years, I courted these frames. And the reason that it took me so long is because the frames alone were more money than I'd ever spent on frames before. And I had to do a lot of talking to myself about undoing the messaging that I had in my head about being frivolous, about spending money on things just because they were beautiful to me when I could get something for less and be more reasonable. I had a lot of unpacking to do. And the message for us, all of us in that, is we all currently have a lot of unpacking to do. So many of you are attracted to things, whether it's a lifestyle or whatever it is you're attracted to right now that may be different than what you were doing before, or it might be an extension of what you've been doing. You may be heading in an entirely new direction. we're being attracted to something. So we are seeing something calling to us. And we are in such times where there's so much being unveiled and so much being unraveled, and it's very disorienting and discouraging, and like all of the words, whatever the words are that are coming up for you that are feeling difficult and challenging. And we're being called to our purple frames, whatever your purple frames are, whatever it is that like you have to reach a little higher or a little deeper in yourself. There's a lot of letting go. I had to let go of these voices in my upbringing that were telling me to be sensible. And I think that's happening with a lot of people right now. So 2 years of courting these glasses, and I love them. And I think I've had them for more than 2 years now. But what has happened is the sand on the beaches down here, when the wind comes up, my lenses have gotten like buffed. They've gotten scratched. And then recently, I wasn't thinking, and I took my glasses into a very, very hot situation. And it just didn't occur to me that the intensity of the heat would warp the whatever that is called that gets laid over lenses to like block out UV light and whatever that is, like the film over the lenses. So now it's like I'm walking around in a mist or a cloud, and it's very I don't like it. So a couple of things about my eyes, and I'll tie this back to your vision. I have, for the majority of my life, told myself I cannot see, because that's the language that we use when our vision requires prescription glasses in order to move around in the world. So I've just been trained to say I can't see without my glasses. Now I'm going to bring in this dream that I had. And if you guys have been sitting with me for a while, you've been in my conversations where I talk about the importance and the value of dreams and working with your dreams. So recently I experienced a dream, and in this dream I heard myself acknowledging that my mind, my physical brain, is what tells me that I cannot see. And in this dream, I didn't have my glasses. I don't know where they were, and I wasn't worried about finding them. I wasn't stressed and anxious. However, I was uncomfortable. I was incredibly uncomfortable because I rely on these things so much in the external world. I typically won't move around without them, even when they're scratched up and the film is wearing off and it creates headaches and things in my body. So the dream is basically saying to me, I'm telling myself stories about my vision. Now, in the dream, it was speaking about my physical vision. And what we want to keep in mind about our dreams is that there's many, many layers to the messages of a dream. So in this sense, I did take it as a physical commentary on what my brain has been doing all these years about my vision. And I have played with this over the years. I've played with eye yoga therapy. I've played with all sorts of like physical muscular exercises for my eyes, and in the hopes that I would strengthen them. And that whole thing is another story. But what is relevant for you and me right now is that I have, in recent weeks, started taking my glasses off in safe spaces where I can move around and just feel the world. Because an interesting thing about me and my glasses, and I will tie this back, I will bring you back into the conversation about you and your vision, is that when I have frames on, it's like I have a barrier. It's like I'm watching the world. So I'm in the world, but I'm watching from like a seat. When I take my glasses off, I feel like 360 degrees around me. I feel things. I don't see the way that I see when I have the prescriptions on, but I see in different ways. I feel in different ways. So for you all, what came to mind as I was reviewing this dream and going over like the damage that I've done to my lenses and the experiments that I'm doing recently with walking around inside my safe spaces, practicing allowing my eyes to take in the world without the aid of these prescriptions. I'm going to stop right there. Again, I told you guys, this morning when I was driving around, like my mind was, it was just so beautiful. And now I have to work really hard to like pull this conversation together. We've been living under a prescription socially. And I know that you understand what that statement means for you. We've watched our politics get disrupted. We've watched so many systems being disrupted right now. A lot of heavy conversations going on about how we should and should not be. And that's prescription. Those are prescriptive details and prescriptive framing around how society should be. And that is, I was going to say that's coming down. I don't know what it's doing, but it is being disrupted, and it's going to continue to be disrupted for the next chunk of years. There are some people that say that we're moving towards, like, between now and 2030, I believe, there are going to be massive changes culturally, very hugely disruptive changes. We have a situation cosmologically going on right now that is setting us up for another series of major changes. So the prescriptive way that we have been living is being challenged right now. And especially if you're tuned in now to this, what I'm saying, and if you stay with me in this conversation, you are someone who has an inner vision. You are someone who has been, new sight has been coming to you, new possibilities. I don't want you to get stuck on the idea of eyes and even like inner visions, dreams, that kind of thing. When I say vision, what I'm saying is you are being called into something new for yourself, or invited into something new for yourself. And you are having to, on some level at minimum, undo the framework that you've been living under all these years. And my encouragement to you is to allow yourself to take the glasses off and walk in the world even when it feels frightening. So today I went to the beach, and the beach is the place I do not take my glasses off. I cannot see, and I'm working on I cannot see. I am so terrified of getting disconnected from whatever little bundle of shoes and whatever I leave on the shore and then walking into the water. There's also the fact that there are things that live in the water, and I've seen a lot of them at this point, and I won't see them in the way that I'm used to seeing them when I'm in the water. But I've been really working on my physical vision over the past few weeks, especially. And I just decided today I'm going to separate myself from the security blanket, which my glasses are a security blanket. And I'm going to see what it feels like to be in the world, like exposed in this way. And one of my other fears is that someone will be talking to me and I will not recognize it because I'm not seeing any facial expressions and I'm not seeing movement, and I will not engage with them and they'll get upset and blah, 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 the whole spin out story. So this is my situation, my experiment this afternoon. And I made it out to the water just fine. I didn't step on anything. I didn't get bit by anything. And even more surprisingly, I made it back to my little pile of sandals and glasses. It took a little bit of work, but I did like course correct. And somebody walked up to me and started talking to me. And this is tying it back to you. When you experiment with taking your prescription off, so take a moment and just think about what you've been considering changing in your life or stepping into or building or exploring or whatever your language is. What is coming up for you as a new avenue to explore? And just take a moment and pull that thing into your mind. And probably alongside of it, if it really is a new thing, like at least one or two objections from yourself or your surrounding people popped right up with it. So here's the thing that you see, and then here's the noise around how you cannot do that thing or you won't be successful or whatever the noise is. And I'm calling that noise the prescription. I am saying that in these times, we need to learn how to take our glasses off and move around in the world without that prescription, because something else is going to come through. So years ago, I was on another beach in Virginia, and I was in a training, and I was in the water. The water is one of my favorite places to be. And the waves on that beach were pretty high that day, and I was in the water pretty deep. And I saw these waves coming. I had my glasses on, and I knew exactly what was going to happen, and I just stood there and let it happen. And what I knew was going to happen is I was going to be taken under by a wave, and I was going to lose my glasses. And I didn't even stop it. And what that meant is that I lost my glasses completely. I lost my top, and I lost the key to my hotel. It was pretty embarrassing and funny at the same time. I reclaimed my top because that was like the most important thing for me to hold on to. And I made it back to the beach or the hotel. And I did not drive there. I had a ride back, so I didn't have to figure out how to get back. But in the weeks up to me replacing my glasses, which my prescription is super strong, so it's not an immediate thing. I had to wait a few weeks to get in, and then I had to wait a couple of weeks for the glasses to be made and all that fun stuff. So it was like 4 weeks of me walking around in the world like this, which is very rare for me. And what I learned is that there are a lot of other senses. There's the 5 that we talk about, and then there's other senses. And so I learned to tell who was I learned to feel the world around me. I learned to recognize who was approaching me based on like the movement of the shadow of their body. Some really cool senses and perception came in for me. And this ties back into you because when we start taking off other people's prescriptions for our lives, other people's ideas about how things are supposed to be done, because right now we are in a great undoing. Nobody knows what we're moving into. And so all of our new ideas are going to be useful, at least in the creative exploration of what we're moving into. We need to allow ourselves to be creative right now. And part of doing that is taking risks, removing our glasses, removing the way that we're used to seeing in the world, and allowing different forms of sight to come in. So I'm hoping that I've made some sense here. And the reason this is important to me right now is because, first of all, we don't talk about this kind of creativity. We don't talk about this kind of experimentation culturally, and we are in it right now. We're not getting out of this, and a lot of what we've been familiar with, a lot of the ways we've been used to seeing the world and ourselves in it, it's going away. It's being like stripped away from us. it's dropping off because it's either time or we're voluntarily doing it. Like, there's lots of ways that this is happening, but what we are used to seeing and how we are used to interpreting it is going away, and something new is down the road, but we are in this in-between place. And in the in-between place, like the chaos and the creativity is experimental. We're in the experimental place. And so I want to be a voice encouraging people to have the courage to experiment and explore without the usual framework. Yeah, hopefully I did a good job. All right, as always, I love to see your comments, your feedback. I've gotten some really beautiful messages in my inbox about the last couple of lives that I posted. So that's always wonderful. It's always wonderful to hear from people and just get a sense of how people are making sense of what I'm sharing. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you are catching this on YouTube, because again, She Is of the Woods just made my entire Instagram life like renewed it by just sharing how she's dealing with the recordings and moving them from one platform to another. So if you're on YouTube watching this, if you like the message, if you like the videos, please like and subscribe and share with anyone that you feel would benefit from this perspective, my perspective, and these conversations. All right, guys, have a great Friday. I will talk with you again.